Humanoid robots have entered the boxing ring. Another deepfake is going viral, passing the Uncanny Valley, fooling lots of guys.
How crazy is that? We are absolutely cooked here.
Dubrix came up with this fascinating way to tag the Lego sets that you've made, then use artificial intelligence to actually insert them into what look like photos on a video wall. Like, it's so neat. It's just so neat. There's new AI-based software that you can run that looks over your brain's connection to see if your brain is healthy. Seriously, new software to proofread the map of the brain. Google's got a new project that allows them to talk to dolphins. I'm super into it, but also I can kind of see why OpenAI sometimes beats them to the product punch. Like, I'm really glad it exists, but who's this for? Dolphin trainers?
I've been waiting for this for 40 years.
The market's just not that big. There's a new AI model for finding lost hikers, and it actually puts itself in their shoes and thinks like a person would to figure out how they might have got lost. So I don't really watch Orville, but the channel Mindful Machines got me thinking deeply about if I want to get into it or not. It's got some utopian, dystopian AI kind of stuff that I think would maybe give me some value. We're going to talk about how LLMs actually focus their attention. Knowing what token they start with kind of gives you some insights. In a very fascinating use, AI was used with VR and then twisting people around to see what gets them dizzy. And AI learned some things that can make you feel like you're spinning that don't make you dizzy, and some things that make you feel like you're spinning and do make you dizzy. It's really not just about spinning. Dizziness is not what it seems. I'm surprised. I'm as surprised as you are. New video to audio generation tools are now out. I mean, you tell me, would you buy this as the sound of a car driving by? If I wasn't looking for it, probably. Jingyu's got some ideas about how the prisoner's dilemma between the AI and the creators plays out. We're going to talk about enhancing introspection using LLMs to augment our internal thoughts. And of course, we'll talk about misalignment, alignment, the big question in AI. But first, let's talk about this video's sponsor, LTX Studio. So by now, you've seen me explore many of the AI content creation features that it has. The keyframe animations, the auto magic connected sound effects, shot refinement, storyboards, character consistency, script writing, the whole thing. But now I want to tell you about one of the things that's often overlooked with tools like this, the community behind it. So if you're looking to up your game with this tool, there actually is an amazingly vibrant Discord community that you can join. And one of my favorite places to get inspired is to go to Showcase.
And all you have to do is open the door. Are you a weary traveler? A seeker of truth? Or a lost soul searching for what was left behind? No matter how you arrived, you're exactly where you need to be.
I mean, think of what it would take to just animate or practically create that door and all that floating stuff, and then put it all together in, some kind of a coherent color scheme with the same character. Plus, the LTX employees are always in here too, so if you've got improvements for the product, this is a great place to chat with them. But I just love that there is a community around this tool. And in some ways, that's the one feature to rule them all. So if you want to sign up for LTX Studio, there's a link in the description below. And I want to thank them for sponsoring this video and helping us grow our community as well. All right, so every time people kick and punch and push the robots over, I always feel really bad for them. In this case, at least they put boxing gloves back on it to let it fight back. But this guy better enjoy his 15 minutes of fame, because that Unitree robot version 2 or 3 more down the line is absolutely going to wipe the floor with any human that has ever tried. We've seen bots battle before, but I think there's something about the humanoid factor. Look, it even kind of looks like it's doing some, I think it's called jiu-jitsu. I'm not a big, fighting person, but, it looks like it's trying to, trip him and, ground and mount or whatever.
What did he say?
Dang. And at the end, they're saying that they prioritize personal safety. Unitree will be live streaming robot combat in about a month. Stay tuned. And in very small print down here, they ask that we kindly request that users refrain from making any dangerous modifications or using the robots in a hazardous manner. Doubt that super small print is going to help us in any way, but thanks for putting it there. And look, Unitree's robots are just really impressive. I mean, God, I wish we saw like Optimus doing some stuff like this, but Rubik's Cube, playing cards, throwing an orange back and forth. I mean, the pages of a book actually are really impressive. I mean, like, I've got my handful of paper cuts from it. Yeah, it's good, man. Look, finally they designed functional hands. This is getting more and more impressive. Look at your little fingers. I mean, not like dinosaurs were known for their great hands, but those things, they don't do anything like that Unitree robot.
Make Grimlock stronger. Make Grimlock must bleed. No. Dinobots, no go. Meet Grimlock, no take orders. Never.
Alright, so the bro YouTubers, very confused over this video. Some saying that it's like resurfaced from a couple years ago and it's not AI. This commenter saying that it's using Morph Cut on Adobe Premiere Pro. It's an old video. But you do see a lot of AI elements, like 6 fingers here on the hand.
And hold this Rode mic. But I mean, this looks amazing. I don't know what they're using for lip syncing, but this looks amazing. Watch this right here. Boom. Now she has morphed to holding that mic. None of this is real at all. How crazy is that? We are absolutely cooked here.
And then as the internet sleuths are, some people looked into it saying the original video just showed a zoomed in image of her face and then a little bit of the microphone. So maybe that explains why the Rode microphone stays so realistic and the face is realistic. And then someone used AI to create the scenery around her, and that explains why the lip syncing is so good, but her surroundings look like AI. So it's an AI video, it's got some elements from another video in it, but it's just another example of like the Uncanny Valley being so close that like when it's mixed, that it's hard to really tell what's real, what's not. Now we have to pick apart individual clips to figure out which parts are real. And also maybe it's just reality. Like this person said, the man holding the mic might just have woman hands with 6 fingers. Come on, people. This was one of my favorite things I've seen on the internet for a little while. Bricks, big Lego channel, had a really interesting idea to add an interactive element to his Lego builds. So check this out. Under the drawer, there's an NFC reader. Under each of his Lego builds, there's a little NFC tag so that it can relay what it is that's sitting on top of the shelf. And then you can take actual videos of places you've been and display them. But then taking the next step with AI, why couldn't you just take that Lego image and actually put it in the background of your photos? We just watched the Uncanny Valley sort of deepfake from before. Like, why couldn't that woman be standing in front of the Sydney Opera House that was done with Legos and it just looked all real? Or maybe you convert the Lego to the real version or vice versa. Maybe it turns that person into a Lego standing in front of that, you know, you take a photo of yourself and then you upload it here and it like tags the NFC and matches the Lego build you have. Now we can live inside of our Lego builds or have photographs and displays as if we were in that universe. And then some kind of video model like Sora or Kling or something, and all of a sudden you're just like watching home movies of yourself in a Lego world or matching. What a cool thought that is. All right, so there's something called the Microns Project. Team of researchers has created the most detailed map of a brain ever. And they did it by taking tiny little slices of a mouse's brain, the visual cortex. And now we're talking about mapping out over 523 million synapses, 200,000 cells, and you basically have like Google Maps for a brain. Now, to make sense of this data, they have a neural net called NEURD, like neuron, NEURD, very clever. Neural decomposition is what it fully stands for, and it's basically a piece of software that automates proofreading and annotates complex neurons in 3D structures. So, developed Baylor College of Medicine, this simplifies the mapping process, flagging errors, and helping researchers dive deep into how neurons connect and function. Undoubtedly unlocking new clues about brains and brain diseases coming soon. I mean, look, anatomical maps and live data coming together. This is powerful stuff. It's the first time that researchers can actually trace both the structure and the behavior of individual neurons at such detail. Next up, Google is using their powerful AI systems to talk to the dolphins. Look, write a comment below if you want to talk to dolphins, what you would ask them. If you think they have language and culture and all of that stuff, and AI will crack that for us and maybe let us communicate or understand. It's trained on decades of wild dolphin data. It can recognize patterns in dolphin sounds. It can generate realistic sequences of dolphin sounds, so it can squeal and whistle also. And paired with the Gemini chat system, there might be some two-way testing of communication that could give us insights we have never had before. Humans, dolphins, unite. Okay, so here's a really interesting use case for AI. You think about when we have people who are hiking and they just simply get lost. Then we put out a search team. We ask a bunch of people, what's the last place you've seen them? Maybe their family kind of tells them what types of hikes they go on. They try to track down where to search based on where they started and what kind of person they are. But honestly, it's probably pretty hard and it doesn't work that well. But AI can do some superhuman simulations of people. It can do some probability finding that other kinds of systems can't. So researchers in Scotland have developed a new smart AI system that mimics how real people behave when they get lost outdoors. They studied decades of data on actual missing people, and the AI created a simulated agent that makes decisions based on factors like terrain, location, psychological state. Because all people who are scared and lost start doing something unnormal. I don't know exactly what it would be, but I can imagine you're like trying to get to lower ground all the time, or maybe you're trying to stay in like big open areas where a helicopter could see you. So this model generates heat maps showing where somebody is most likely to end up, which helps search and rescue teams narrow their focus, work more efficiently. And maybe like those wild fighting drones that we found yesterday, you pair this tech up with sensor drones and they can search way faster, way better. Maybe they can dip under the canopy, look from a human perspective at a bunch of places to see like what would maybe appeal to somebody who's lost. And the most fascinating insight was that when tested in a virtual version of Scotland, the AI's predictions closely matched where actual people were found in real life, meaning that it is actually starting to think like a lost person. So this YouTuber, Mindful Machines, put up this video called The AI Time Bomb This Sci-Fi Show Accidentally Predicted. So of course, like caught my eye, I started watching it, and then it brought me to these concepts from Orville about people unable to handle life after scarcity, and it kind of looked like Star Trek to me, but it had some really interesting philosophical positioning, and now I'm thinking I might need to watch it. So you think about it, the matter synthesizer that can make anything anybody wants seems like a blessing that everyone on Earth would benefit from. Do you think your entire city, the entire world could handle it? Imagine anybody gets anything they want. Maybe there'd be nothing to be mad about. Like maybe jealousy in a sense could go away. At least object-oriented scarcity would be gone. So maybe jealousy goes along with that. Maybe it becomes a challenge for who can synthesize bigger and better things, or things that I guess make more money or do more controlling. Yeah, my overall take from this video just got me thinking was that technology seems like the solution to a lot of things that it's really just not the solution to. Day by day, certainly pieces of technology make your life better, brings you more comfort, happiness, security, actually less security recently. Also less privacy. Now I feel like monitoring is going up, but I guess monitoring bad guys and stuff. But anyways, point is technology sometimes seems like it solves problems, and we point to that as if that's the only thing it does. But absolutely, the point of life, the feeling of happiness, the feeling of fulfillment is not going to guarantee come along with the ride. So to say that, progress is always better is not true. But that also doesn't mean that we shouldn't make progress, because it does do amazing things sometimes in boxes, and we should really get into the details of what those are. So maybe the most important thing we can do in the age of AI is just to enjoy the journey. All right, let's talk about where large language models actually decide to focus their attention when they're working. So there's a fascinating aspect of how large language models actually process information, and it highlights that the first token, the very first thing that pops out of its brain, is actually the beginning of a sequence that becomes an attention sink. So it's a hole basically that kind of guides you from that position. Like if you drop somebody randomly in a forest, they're in different spots, and then from there they might find and discover a lot, but really where they start makes a huge difference. So in large language models, this does disproportionately influence the model's focus throughout the entire input. And for better or worse, this means that large language models are essentially anchoring their opinions into initial tokens. which has a lot of implications for how differently you should structure your prompt or where tendencies of these models are to start and how those change the outcome for better, for worse. And this idea of an attention seek at the beginning of a sequence challenges the assumption that LLMs distribute their attention evenly across all tokens and gives us a new way to maybe try to understand the behavior of these models. All right, let's talk about getting dizzy or sick or motion sickness in the future of AI and VR. Okay, so there is a new study that has been done that was looking at how VR feels when you're using it. And it showed that VR users can be tricked into perceiving much more dramatic movements than they actually experience, all without feeling sick. So this is remaining persistent among lots of different types of people, lots of groups of people. And the participants are basically comfortable the whole time. They don't get thrown around, they don't get dizzy, and they're largely unaware of the manipulation. When they're done, they're like, yeah, you spun me around and this and that. And they're like, nope, actually we didn't. You just felt like it. But this is really good news for building games and stuff because it opens up the exciting possibility for more immersive VR experiences in areas like gaming, theme park rides, simulators, especially in passive settings where users aren't really controlling the movement. So just like sitting at home in kind of a chair that moves just a little bit, but then it feels like you went on something way more extreme, but you don't get sick. Kind of the more interesting question, which they don't address, is that like, why is our brain so good at being fooled in VR without causing discomfort? Like in one of the tests, there was a mere 10-degree physical turn and it was perceived as a 170-degree spin. That means it's a 1700% increase from the truth, and that's how it's perceived. It suggests designers can push the boundaries of virtual motion and create way more thrilling experiences, so get ready for it. Maybe the next Apple Vision Pro will be more popular. All right, let's talk about this new model dropped on the world. It is called AudioX. It can turn pretty much anything, text, image, videos, or even other audio files into high-quality audio or music. So instead of needing separate tools for each type of input, this is like this huge multimodal, handle anything, all-in-one unified system kind of drop. So I used a training method where it was hiding parts of the input across different types, like masking parts of video or text, learning to fill in the difference, and then generating from scratch. So the model gets better at understanding and connecting everything together, and these are some of the results. We'll start with text to audio, so thunder and rain during a sad piano solo. Text to music generation, sad emotional soundtrack with a cello. But I think, to me, the most impressive thing is video to audio generation, because this is how I'm imagining tools like Sora come to life. Here's tennis playing. Kinda. I mean, it's got the echoey room. It's got the squeak of the shoes. It's sort of got the sound of the tennis ball hitting. You know, it's not like these tools haven't been out there already, but they're just starting to take the full multimodal experience to the next level. So it's pretty impressive. All right, next up, let's talk about the classic prisoner's dilemma problem that seemingly can be applied to like everything in this world, but specifically between AI and creators. So this was written by Jing Hu. And he's essentially diving into what feels like it's not a battle that much right now, but I feel like is tension that's going to erupt soon. And that's the tension between AI companies and human content creators. I am one. I feel like I'm going to not fight that hard because I'm definitely just going to get crushed. And I'm just trying to create great content now before a much better Dylan Curious that has no blemishes and like is much more interesting and has a bigger lexicon and knows a million times more about news is just going to entertain you better than me. Hopefully I'm still like a human novelty on the side, but there's going to be a lot less like money and potential revenue and like ability to create lifestyles around content creation for those people. So yeah, they're basically comparing it to the classic prisoner's dilemma from game theory. So AI companies are scooping up creative content to train their models. Content creators are stuck in a lose-lose scenario. You know, we share our work with the risk of being exploited. Or we can like withhold it and not, I can create content and just like not put it on the internet so nobody can train on it, but they'll still just train on someone similar enough to me. And I'm guaranteed to not get my message out or build an audience. So lose-lose. So this article is just exploring how there's like a tipping point and it's going to unfairly tip towards the tech giants. And it's kind of starting to be obvious. It lays out 3 ways that you could resist the balance, like smarter AI that doesn't need to hoard data, alliances between creators and platforms. That's what I'm hoping for. Kind of like with copyright, there's like sort of understand like what I can get away with in terms of like reacting to content and what I can't. And like some norms have developed around it. Hopefully there's something like that where, I don't know, maybe I do use AI to create more Dylan Curious content because in the future you guys want that more than me. And then I can make something off of that because it was kind of like me, or I can keep like training it or augmenting it with real videos. That's what I'm hoping for, but they might just like take me out of the equation too. And the regulatory guardrails might be a way to like try to enforce a better future like that. But the idea of a prisoner's dilemma analogy reveals why this issue is so stubborn. Even though AI companies and creators would benefit from fair cooperation, there's an incentive to push them towards betrayal. AI companies scrape the data. Content creators feel forced to upload the data for them to scrape. One winner, one loser. Instead of just cooperation, which might be the best result. All right, so this was written in Psychology Today, John Nosta, and it kind of is one of those things that if you think about using your large language model as a sounding board, as almost like an internal monologue, it can be a really helpful way to almost like what meditation is, like step away from your thoughts, notice how you think, and become closer to enlightenment, I dare say. They didn't say that in the article, but basically, large language models can act like a really smart, thoughtful partner of yours. So instead of just bouncing ideas around in our head or waiting to talk things out with someone else, we can have a digital companion to explore our thoughts with. And LLMs help us rehearse ideas, spot biases, sharpen our reasoning before we bring those thoughts out into the actual conversation. I remember Zuckerberg saying early on that one of the biggest use cases of Meta was that, like trying to simulate dating, simulate job interviews, simulating things that were going to happen to people. That seemed kind of okay, seemed like kind of a good use for this. It's nice to have an always available brainstorming buddy to challenge and help you polish your thoughts. And I think the consensus, from what I understand, is that Claude's usually the best at this, right? It feels like the most thoughtful. But of course, GPT's 4.5 update was supposed to move into that kind of personalization territory. So yeah, don't forget these tools can be really valuable for that stuff. All right, let's talk about getting AIs working towards human goals. Very difficult problem, sort of the core essence of the alignment problem. This study shows how to measure misalignment, which is a good step towards alignment, like an important step that most people don't even really address. So in a new study, researchers found that misalignment peaks when agents have evenly distributed conflicting goals. And it decreases when most of the agents share similar objectives, which is pretty interesting. So if 99% of the agents we build do have good intentions, that might imply that there's not much cognitive dissonance. So hopefully especially open source model, all the DeepSeeks and the llamas out there that are getting multiplied and replicated and ran from different sources, those are eventually going to turn into agents because they're going to be independently running. And if they're all aligned, that's a really good thing. It depends on if models were trained in the East or the West to some degree, but at least most of them don't, move towards really dangerous stuff. But anyways, this suggests that AI alignment is highly context dependent, and it varies based on specific situations and the stakeholders involved. For instance, an AI system that's designed to boost sales might align with the retailer's goals, but conflict with the desires of the consumer to save money. So now we have misalignment. You want to sell me stuff and take my money. The other model wants to protect me and help me save my money. I don't know. Whose model is smarter, better, faster, more expensive? I guess that'll be the winner. But yeah, misalignment is highest when goals are evenly distributed among agents. That's the key thing I'm trying to remember. So hopefully that helps developers and policymakers create more nuanced and effective strategies for integrating AI into our society. So if you want to support the channel, you can join the 93 members on my Patreon, patreon.com/DylanCurious, or hit that join button right here on YouTube right below this video. As well as just like, you know, hitting share, leaving a comment, telling your buddy about it, watching the video. All that stuff really matters to me. Definitely a content creator that's like still in the kind of get off the ground phase. So today, as of filming, it is tax day, April 15th. So I'm trying like a tax theme for the title and thumbnail. I thought that kind of might help it trend a little. Also, it was a really interesting article, but it did kind of help. Like if you look, I launched right before tax day, and then so far during tax day, it's gone up like a little bit. Not anything massive, but kind of interesting. The click-through rate using AI grift in the title is kind of interesting. Like it had a really stellar beginning, like 13% of people were clicking on it. And then I guess as taxes are due, people care less. I don't know. You can also see from the thumbnail test, I should have maybe stuck with this darker theme, but I wanted more of like that paper look because it kind of matched the topic. So I don't know. I might have messed that up. Only like 31% of people clicked on the word cheated, whereas 33.6% for AI grift. And then, of course, AI news always does pretty well. Geez, you really should watch Studio Ghibli movies. You're missing out. I know, but now I got to watch Orville and like, I'm not even Rick and Morty, the one show I try to keep up on. I haven't even seen the newest season. I'm trying to watch Silicon Valley. I mean, you got the one thing about the YouTube channel that I did not realize is that I was going to get so many recommendations for good content. There's a bunch of Black Mirrors I haven't seen. Came for the AI news, stayed for the urinal physics and existential dread. 10 out of 10. Would get grifted again. Interesting. Love the latest ChatGPT trend of putting people in action figurines inside of packaging. So enjoy this custom song, and I'll leave you with AI turning tariffs into people walking down a runway. You can't make this stuff up.
Came for the AI news, stayed for the urinal physics and existential dread. 10-10 would get grifted again. Stayed for the urinal physics and existential dread. 10-10 would get grifted again. Sorry, but why do we need humans anymore? Came for the AI news, stayed for the urinal physics and existential dread. 10-10 would get grifted again. Sorry, but why do we need humans anymore? Came for the AI news, stayed for the urinal physics and existential dread. 10-10 dread. 10-10 would get grifted again. Came for the AI news, stayed for the urinal physics and existential dread. 10-10 would get grifted again. Sorry, but why do we need humans anymore? Came for the AI news, stayed for the urinal physics and existential dread. 10-10 would get grifted again. Sorry, but why do we need humans anymore?
All right, hit subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for supporting. Share this on Reddit or something.
Sorry, but why do we need humans anymore?
Man, that's a jam. I'll upload it to the Patreon.